What's up, folks? I'm Dwayne, and this is Blackboard Gaming, where I teach you about all these great board games that are out there, waiting to be played by you and yours.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complication.
Hey, everybody. So, I've been posting content with my wife Alicia for about 2.5 years now. And I recently realized that I have never shared with you, the audience, what my top 10 favorite board games of all time are. And so in this video, I'm going to rectify that discrepancy. Now, if you've been following the channel, then you probably know what some of them are. But we're going to write those in stone. So before I talk about my top 10, I want to talk about two that have recently got pushed out of my top 10. So they're like my top 11 and 12, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the list. So the game that's sitting at number 12 right now is a game called Pandoria. Now, Pandoria uses the area majority mechanic, which is, I'm usually not a big fan of area majority or area control, but I really enjoy it in this game. So in this game, you play it as a faction. It's set in a fantasy world, so you play as either dwarves or elves or halflings or humans. And we are discovering this new land by placing tiles out onto the game board. And these tiles have two different terrain types. And the terrain types is how we get our resources. So the resources is we're mining for gold, mining for crystals, and we're acquiring wood. We use the gold to buy cards that has the spells and the buildings. And we use the wood for the buildings and the crystals for the spells. And when you place a tile out on the game board, then you take one of your workers and you place it on that tile. Now, the thing about it is, whenever a certain terrain type is totally enclosed, then if there are any workers that's on the terrain type, they get booted out and returned to the players. And then any workers that are on the boundaries of that terrain type will gain the resources based on the number of tiles or the number of resources on those tiles. And I really enjoy this game. The game is not cute. The cover is beautiful, but the game is not really a pretty game. But I've enjoyed my plays of this game because of the interaction between the players, because that puzzle of trying to place those tiles to, get those resources, but at the same time, if your other players have workers around around those enclosed areas, they get resources also. So I played this game maybe about 4 or 5 times, and I've really enjoyed my plays of this game. And I think it is a hidden gem that doesn't get a lot of recognition. And that game, like I said, that game is Pandoria. The game that's sitting at number 11 is a game called Vindication. So in Vindication, you are scum. And the people that's traveling on the ship with you know it. So they throw you overboard and you wash up on this island with nothing but whatever you have inside of you, your heart, your spirit, or whatever. And so in this game, you are exploring this unknown island. You are, gaining companions. You're building up certain attributes or traits, rather. You are discovering relics. You're going to train, and it's pretty much your resource manager. It's really a Euro game, cube pusher, and you are trying to defeat monsters and just regain your honor in this game. Now, I've enjoyed all my plays of this game, and the sad part about it is also uses area majority. So I'm starting to question how I feel about area majority. But I think this might be the last one that's on my list. Vindication. I love the art. I love the art style. I love how the imagination behind building, portraying these different companions and the monsters you have to deal with. And I just love the resource management and the movement. And it's just, the one thing I really like about it is they're like, at the beginning of the game, there's an in-game trigger, but as the game progresses, there can be more than one in-game trigger. And so once in-game trigger, you start counting up your points, and that's Vindication. Now let's get to the top 10. So my number 10 is a deduction game called Cryptid. Now, Cryptid was just recently nominated for the Kennerspiel, and I actually was, when I saw the nominations, I was like, wow, wait a minute, this game came out in 2018. How is it being nominated in 2022? But I was informed that, the people in Germany haven't played, it just recently got over there. And so in Cryptid, it's a deduction game where we're trying to find the cryptid beast, like think Bigfoot or the, Sasquatch or whatever. And there's a modular board, and each player gets one single clue. There's different terrain types like swamp, mountains, forest, desert, And so you might have a clue that says within one space of the desert. It's a bunch of hexagons on the board. Now, everybody has a different clue. And what you're trying to do is trying to figure out what everybody else's clue. Because the board is made up of all these hexagon shapes, but there's one hexagon that the cryptid is, based on everybody's clue being correct, which I think is so ingenious. And there's several ways to set up the game. It's just like, I think it's like over 50, 55 different ways to play this game. And I think it probably is more than that. But I really love this game because, on your turn, you're just asking, hey, could the cryptid be here? And you placing one of your components on that board, and he either says yes or no by placing his component, a particular component there. And when you figure out everybody's clue, and you say, okay, the cryptid's here, and everybody has to either agree or disagree. And if everybody agrees, you found the cryptid. Everybody agrees based on their clues. You found the cryptid. Man, that is such a smart feeling. You feel like you did something because you figured it out. I really, really enjoy my plays in this game. And Cryptid is just, if you haven't tried that one, you need to give that one a shot. My number 9 favorite game of all time is a game called Teotihuacan. Now, I just recently played Founders of Teotihuacan, which I think is an okay game, but it just reminded me of how much I love Teotihuacan. Now, I remember we had a board game, a weekly board game meetup that was hosted by the Loaded Die, which was a board game. They pretty much rented out board games. And I was at the meetup, and I don't even remember what game I was playing, but I looked at the other table, and I saw, that was the first time I ever saw Teotihuacan. And I'm sitting there looking at this pyramid that's in the middle of the table, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what game is that? And so, of course, did my research and, watched a few videos. I ended up picking it up. One of the best purchases I've ever made, because Teotihuacan is a aesthetically beautiful game. So in Teotihuacan, you using dice as workers, and you're moving around the board like a rondelle style. And based on the power of your die, like when you move your die, you get to move it up from a 1 pip to a 2 pip, 3 pip to a 4 pip. And based on the power, that's the power of the action that you take at that location. And you're going around collecting mats, you're building up these pyramids, or you building up the one pyramid. Sorry, not I'm still stuck on Founders of Teotihuacan. You building up one pyramid in the middle, and you're going up these different tracks. And so when your dice, like you start off with a certain number of dice, but you can get some more dice. So now you got more workers. And then like if your dice is at a 6 pip, then they ascend, which pretty much means they pass away, and you get a special bonus, and you move that dice back to the 1 pip. And I mean, it's been a while since I played it. I need to get that to the table again. But Teotihuacan, out of all the T games, I played Tekenyu, Tawantinsuyu. I'm looking forward to playing Terracotta Army. But Teotihuacan, I really, really enjoyed that game. And that's why it's my number 9. My number 8 game is one of the 2 new games that bumped the other 2 to 11 and 12. So, that game is Ark Nova. Now, Ark Nova, I really, really love that game. I love the theme of this game. I love the way you take your actions in this game. I just love the whole pace of the game. Now, my wife has Alicia has listened to me talk about Ark Nova, and she was like, when we gonna play this game? And I was like, well, I think she's interested in the theme, but I said, Alicia, this game is a little bit heavier. It has a lot going on. And so I decided to show her as we played solo, and so she could see how everything is in this game. And she admitted that, okay, yeah, I love the theme of this game, but it's really too much for me to, to pay attention to. Now me, I'm on it. I just really, really am enamored with this game. And I think it's at number 7 on the BGG top games. It's at number 7 right now. And it just recently came out. So, it shot up. And that lets you know, that gives you some kind of idea how good this game is. And so, Ark Nova, you're placing animals, building a zoo, but you're not just placing them in cages. You might be, later on in the game, in order to get conservation points, you're releasing them out into the wild, or you're making deals with different countries, and that will help you bring certain animals in the zoo. So you might try to put specific types of animals in your zoo, like reptiles or carnivores or whatever. And I mean, Ark Nova is just a really great game, and that's why it's my number 8. My number 7 is the other new game on the list, and that game is Lost Ruins of Arnak. Now, Lost Ruins of Arnak is thematically, I love the theme of this game. I've always been into the adventure, the quest, movies like Indiana Jones, or I bought my PlayStation 1 so I can play little Tomb Raider, So when I heard about Lost Ruins of Arnak, I was like, yeah, I want to check this game out. And I love this game. I love the art style. I love it's deck building with worker placement. And worker placement is my favorite game mechanic. And it's just, the theme is so integrated into this game because like when you're buying cars, there's artifact cars and there's item cars. And at the beginning of the game, you can get more items than artifacts. But as you get deeper into the island and the game progresses, you can get less items and you find them more artifacts, which I think thematically fits. I love you're trying to, there's a resource management, so you're getting these different resources. You're using compasses to go up, to the different dig sites, and then you have to deal with the guardians, but basically in this game, if you really want to win, you definitely got to make sure you're moving up that track. I'm trying to think I can't think of the name of that track off the top of my head, sorry, but the game is just so good. And I picked up the expansion, and I need to go ahead and play that. I need to add the expansion because I know that might push the game higher up the list. Lost Ruins of Arnak is a beautiful game. I had to upgrade my coins and my compasses. I found these compasses on Etsy, and the compasses fit this game. So Lost Ruins of Arnak, I really love that game, and that's why it's at my number 7. So I know you're thinking wow, you really love Ark Nova and you really love Lost Ruins of Arnak, but they're your number 7 and 8. So what 6 games could possibly be better than those? Well, I have to admit that these other 6 games, not only are they great games, but they also bring me a sense of nostalgia, and I'll explain that to you. So my number 6 is Marvel Champions. Now, if you haven't figured it out from up there, I love Marvel, and not just movie Marvel. I have a bunch of X-Men comic books and some other comic books over there. And, I've always kept those comic books. I love the X-Men, and I've always loved Marvel. And so in Marvel Champions, you are, it's a card game where you take on the role of a Marvel hero and you're going against a villain. Your hero, the base game is like Captain America. I believe Captain America's in the base. No, I know Spider-Man's in the base game or whatever. And there's Black Panther and there's Iron Man. And you're going up against villains like Ultron or the Rhino, And so I really love that in this game, you feel like you're living a comic book. Black Panther, he has these different upgrades to his suit, and you get them on the table, but you can't activate them until you play the Wakanda Forever card. And then you activate them in any order you want. Or Captain America, when you put him on the board, you first put him on the board, you get the shield in your hand. And so there's a card where you throw the shield, but the shield comes back to your hand, and then later on you have to put it back in play. I mean, I love the way they just make it feel like the character, And they're coming out with different expansions, They done came out with Vision, they done came out with Thor, Doctor Strange, and they're introducing the X-Men to this game, which I'm really excited about. So I really love Marvel Champions. If they, there's a podcast where they do 5 games to Doomsday, and if there were 5 games you could only have, Marvel Champions would definitely be one of those games. So that's why it has nostalgia for me. So that's my number 6. Now we done got to the top 5. So my number 5 is a game called Viticulture. So in Viticulture, you own a vineyard. And pretty much you're selling wine. But you're going through the whole process. In this game, you have to get up in the morning, go plant the grapes, and then later on you harvest the grapes, and turn their grapes into wine, and then you go selling the wine. And I really just like how it simulates that whole process. Now, I remember, and I was always interested because I don't drink, but I'm always like intrigued by the different types of wine, or because you can use it for cooking. And I remember when I first told my wife about this game, and she was like, "That sounds boring." And now that she's played it, it's like one of her favorite games. She really loves worker placement, and I love the art on the board, the art of the game. It just makes you feel relaxing. It's relaxed. It's like you're outside just taking in the outdoors or whatever, but you're still working to make this wine. And I love the way they got the different building shapes, and I love the meeple, especially that grande worker. And if you really love worker placement, this is probably one of the best worker placement games out there. And that's why I really like it so much, because it brought my wife on board, and that game is Viticulture. Speaking of games that really highlight the worker placement mechanic, my number 4 is a game called Anachrony. Now, Anachrony is such a great game, and I love the theme. So in this game, it's set in a post-apocalyptic world where we are one faction that, we play as factions that have our own little city, because the earth has suffered through this catastrophic event. And so we're all separated. The thing is, we have learned time travel, and our future selves have told us that, hey, it's another catastrophe coming. This asteroid's coming to Earth. And so we are pretty much preparing our cities, because we know that the asteroid is going to hit the main city. So we are preparing our city for the influx of people, to make our city look more attractive. People are going to come to us. And the cool part about this game is you're sending workers to go out into the city. The thing is, you out between your city and the big city, it's like uninhabitable out there. So you have to get into these robots, and they'll travel over to the big city in order to gain resources or gain different, hire more people to come work for you or whatever. The other cool thing about this game is you get to go into the future. You can borrow stuff from the future and say, "Hey, I need an extra robot," or whatever, and they'll lend it to you. Thing is, you got to make sure you give it back, or you're going to cause a paradox. And it's just everything that goes into this game. It is just such a really, really good game, and I love the theme. The fantasy. Fictional fantasy space, whatever you want to call it. It's just really a good theme. And and it's just such a great worker placement game. And that is Anachrony. Now it's time for the top 3. So, my number 3 is my favorite cooperative game of all time. And that is Spirit Island. So, in Spirit Island, we play as spirits who, inhabit this island with the natives. They're known as the Dahan. And so the colonizers have come to our island, and they're trying to colonize the island. They're trying to build up gardens and all that. But we looking at that as like you messing stuff up. So we're trying to help the Dahan get rid of the invaders, And what I love most about this game is the different types of spirits. You got some spirits that's more defense, some spirits that's more offense, some spirits that are just trying to scare the heebie-jeebies out of the invaders and say, "Hey, we need to leave," And it's just such a really good game. And what I love most about it, like usually in cooperative games, somebody kind of takes over, the alpha gamer or whatever. This game, you really cannot alpha game because you have to work with everybody. You cannot, you can't tell other people what to do with their spirit, because it's so many choices of what you're trying to do. You're gaining energy and you're doing these you're playing the cards to play your special power, because it's like a hand management, because you get to get more powerful cards as the game progresses, and you're just trying to make sure that the invaders don't mess everything up, and bring life back to normal for the Dahan. And like, I really, really like this game. Now, this is another game I would do like 5 games of Doomsday. If I had to only have 5 games, this would be the other game, Spirit Island, because there's so many different spirits. They got different expansions. They got different scenarios. And it's just a really, really good game. And that's Spirit Island. My second favorite game of all time is a game called Escape Plan. Now, Escape Plan is a Vita Lacerda game, and pretty much other people will probably say their favorite is Combine EV, which I do own, or On Mars, which I don't. I have not played that one yet. Escape Plan is considered one of his lighter games, but it's still a lot of choices to be made. But it is my number 2 for a few reasons. Now, the first reason is because I went to Origins 2019. It was my first board game convention that I've ever been. And I, checked the list out on Board Game Geek to see what games are coming out. And Escape Plan, I was attracted by the theme. And I'm like, when I get there, this is the game that I'm going to get. This is the first game I'm going to buy. And I went and picked it up, and I did not ever regret my decision, because this game is so thematic, And so in this game, we play as hoodlums or robbers or whatever you call it. We have pulled off this heist and got away with it, So now we're living the life. And that's where the game begins. We're already living the life. We done invested money. We opened up business. We done stashed some monies away. And we just going about like nothing happened. But then all of a sudden, we see our pictures on the news. And we know somebody must have opened their mouth. So now what we're doing is we're competitively trying to get out of the city with the most money without getting caught. And so we're going to the different businesses and we're getting our money, like, hey, we need that money. That money we gave you to open this business, we need that back. And we need it right now, And we're going to get all our stash out and everything while avoiding the cops. And there are 3 types of cops looking for you: the county, SWAT, and the federal, And whenever you go into a building that one of the other players is already in, your notoriety goes up. So, I mean, it's just really, really thematic. You get to hire, like, you can rent a helicopter, or you can hire the motorcycle gang to be a distraction or whatever. And you can hire different, like, bodyguards or whatever, or grab a fast car to get you from one space to the other so you can avoid some of the cops. And I mean, the components in this game, like just the motorcycle, the bikers alone is just really nice. Like all of Vita Lacerda games, the components are just top notch. And I just really like this game because of the theme. Sometimes I like playing as the villain. And this game just really just brings me in to the theme, So that's my number 2. Now, if you followed this channel, you already knew what my number 1 was going to be. And that's Everdell. Now, Everdell, I just played this game less than 24 hours ago. And I got it out on the table, and like I got the wooden tree. I got like wood wheelbarrows that I found at a dollhouse store to hold the components, and it's just like I saw it sitting there as I set it up, and I'm like, yes, there's no doubt this is my favorite game of all time. I love everything about this game. What I love most about it is it introduced me. It was my crossover. It was, worker placement, resource management, hand manager, tableau building, the whole nine. It introduced you to so many different things. And the art, in a theme that's aesthetically beautiful, the art, introduced me to Andrew Bosley. And I love it. Like, if I see a game that's he's gonna be the illustrator for, I'm on it. And this is the game that brought my wife over. She's still a casual gamer, but I could pull this game out. She's like, yeah, let's play this, And even though it has a lot of thoughts, the combos that you can pull off in this game, it's still a relaxing game because of the art and the theme, and the components. Those little berries, you just got to make sure those berries ain't near other berries because you can get them mixed up. I just love everything about this game. And then the expansion, like the Spire Crest expansion is my favorite expansion. And, it brings in the bigger animals and stuff. And it gives you something to do with those extra resources. Because, like, when you start Everdell, you're like, okay, I only got 2 workers. And I'm supposed to be able to build up this town of 15? How am I going to do that? But then at the end of the game, you're like, well, wait a minute. I done built up this town of 15, and I still got all these extra components, these resources. What am I going to do with them? Because they're not worth points at the end of the game. And that's what I love about the Spire Crest expansion. It gives you something else to do with those components, So, those are my top 10 games of all time. My top 12, whatever, my top 10 games of all time. And I really, really enjoy each of these games. Now, if you like the contents of this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe. I can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And in the comments, let me know what are some of your favorite games of all time. I will be interested to know, if I played them or not or whatever. But those are my 10. And I'm Dwayne. This has been Blackboard Gaming, and I will see you next time.